Hey y'all, it's Miss Gephardt, and we are going to go through and do the first of two videos. The first video is going to be from your little front side of the note sheet that started with cells capture and release energy. So what we want to start with is just a simple explanation about what chemical energy is and why it's so important. Chemical energy is going to be all that energy that's stored in the bonds. So when we think about two atoms coming together, they're going to bond together. And when they bond, I want you to imagine holding hands. Okay. So if I have very tight bonds, it's going to be like I can't separate my hands. If I've got very weak bonds, it's like I'm holding just my fingertips together. If I was holding somebody else's hand, a tight bond would be I would be squeezing the life out of them, and a weak bond is just, barely holding on. And within that bond is a lot of energy. So when I break the bonds, I release energy, and that's allowing us to stay alive. So you have to think about when you eat your food and you breathe in your oxygen, there's going to be a lot of awesome action happening inside your body that's releasing the energy that's within the cells. Okay, so that's obviously very important to sustain us. Okay. All right, so a major source of energy that we all get is something called glucose, and glucose is going to be found. Glucose is sugar, but don't think of sugar like in terms of like, I spooned sugar, into my coffee or something like that. Glucose is going to be simple sugars that you find in a lot of the plant matter that you eat. So you think of your fruits and vegetables. It's also going to be found in your breads because your breads are made from plants. And running, walking, you know, doing burpees, whatever, those are all going to require muscle energy. And that's going to be, your muscles are going to get it from your glucose, from the food you eat, which is why it's so very important that we eat in order to supply our body with what we need to do what we do and do what we like to do. Okay. First off is photosynthesis. So we have to go through and talk about how the plant gets the energy and does its thing so that we can then talk about how we use it. Photosynthesis is how plants go about changing the energy from the sunlight. So, Mr. Golden Sun shining down on me. I have to change, if I'm a plant, I have to change that energy into something that I can use to help me sustain my life as a plant. Okay, so plants change the energy from the sun into chemical energy. And so what you see here is a diagram going over the whole photosynthesis thing. Okay, and I know that hopefully at this point in your life you have run across photosynthesis. But we have Mr. Golden Sun. Here he is, just chilling. Look at him. Woo! Mr. Golden Sun. And brings the sunlight. So sunlight's coming in to the plant. Okay, so the plant is trapping the light. It's going to take some water, so gulp, 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 gulp. Okay, and then it's going to inhale carbon dioxide. And remember, carbon dioxide is coming from us, the humans and the animals and all that kind of stuff. So that comes in. These three ingredients come in. The plant does a little and then it pushes out the oxygen, gives off, it doesn't give off sugar, but it produces sugar, which is what we use. Okay, and that sugar is going to be in things like starches. And that's the food energy that we get from things like corn, potatoes, all your fruits and vegetables, things like that. So that's kind of how photosynthesis works. And it's probably a review for most of y'all, so not something brand new, I'm telling you. But to get down and dirty, the chlorophyll, okay, it's a pigment within the chloroplast. So remember the chloroplast, when they give our cell notes, chloroplast is that organelle that kind of looks like a watermelon, and it's got the chlorophyll, the pigment inside. And what that's going to do is that's what's actually trapping the energy so that we can undergo, not we, but so the plant can undergo photosynthesis. Okay, so here's kind of just looking at it from a leaf's perspective. So chlorophyll in the chloroplast, the pigment that traps the energy from the sun. So now let's look at what we actually do. To release our energy, we undergo something called cellular respiration. And what that means is we have to use the oxygen to release the energy found in that sugar. So when you eat all of that food that you eat, that breathing in and that out, okay, that breathing in, that oxygen, what it's going to do is it's going to get into your lungs and it goes all the way down to the cellular level. And it's like a key, it unlocks the door and it lets the sugars that are stored in there release their energy. Okay, this is happening in the mitochondria. Okay, that's our energy store. And I want you to imagine the mitochondria in your muscles, okay? There's going to be a lot more mitochondria in here. Those of you who are athletes, those of you who are track people and stuff like that, you're going to have a lot more mitochondria in your leg muscles or your arm muscles, soccer players, your leg muscles, basketball players between your legs and your arms, because they have to be able to release that energy when you need it, okay? Now, we've all probably seen this kind of idea. Here's Bessie, okay? Bessie's right here. Woo, Bessie's got a big old star on her. Bessie's just hanging there. She's holding down the earth really good, okay? Bessie the cow is going to breathe out carbon dioxide. Okay, we breathe it out too. Give it off. That carbon dioxide comes into the plant. The plant takes it with the sunlight and the water, beep, 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 okay, and gives off oxygen and creates the starch in which Bessie is eating. Okay, so it's this entire cycle that just keeps on going. This next picture to the right of it is the mitochondria. You do not need to know what these things are. It's not important that you know that. It's just bringing back that this process right here is happening in that mitochondria. And I know that Bessie's not looking like she's doing a whole lot of athletic stuff, but she is standing and she's eating and she's got muscle action that's going on, digesting her food and all that kind of stuff. So there is action going on that requires energy. Now, we've all encountered this. You are playing a soccer game and you are in, you got like 5 minutes left and, you want to go all out and give it your all, but you are just not exchanging enough oxygen, okay? Because you're probably, okay, but you still need to complete the game, all right? So what's going to happen is your body is going to flip systems and it's going to undergo something called fermentation, okay? Fermentation simply means that your body is able to get energy without oxygen. Okay, so you're a little deprived of oxygen, it still is able to release the energy from the glucose. Problem we run into is that something called lactic acid is also then going to be released from this. And this is why you often get these muscle crampings or the sore and stiff muscles when you get finished with like a track meet or a soccer game. Sometimes your calf muscles or your leg muscles get real sore and stiff and you're rubbing them out because it really hurts. More than likely what happened is that lactic acid was building up in those muscles because your body had to flip to fermentation in order to keep you going at the rate you were going at. So if you flip over your sheet, you've got a diagram that looks like this. And what you're going to do is in these two spots right here, all right, on the next slide, I have the chemical equation for both photosynthesis and respiration. You do need to memorize the equation, but I'll tell you this, and I know some of you are like, oh my gosh, I got to memorize an equation. Photosynthesis and respiration are opposite reactions to each other. So all you have to do is memorize one of those equations, and the other is the opposite of it. So it's not too bad. We're going to go through and fill in the rest, and then I'll put the last slide on for just a second, and you can fill in the two top parts, okay? But this like watermelon looking thing, the green thing, is the chloroplast, okay? So the chloroplast is going to be giving off oxygen, and it's also going to be creating glucose, okay? Once it's given off that oxygen and that glucose, this is coming into the mitochondria. So the mitochondria is going to take in oxygen. It's going to give off, and I'm writing chemical energy, but if you just wrote energy, that's fine. It's going to create that chemical energy that you're going to use. But you as an animal, you're going to give off carbon dioxide and water. Okay, and I know it's weird to think, oh, I'm giving off water, but think about all the exhaling, okay? And you can see your breath, that's water. Okay, so you're giving off water, okay? And over here, what we need to add is that energy here, this light energy, is actually probably want to draw an arrow pointing inward because light energy is coming in with the carbon dioxide and the water, does a little magic trick, gives off that oxygen, gives off that glucose. Okay, so here we go. This is the final thing. These are the two chemical equations. Now again, I don't care really if you know that this is light and this is chemical. As long as you know that it's energy, I'm content. But if you look, this reaction is the opposite of this reaction. So to memorize the formula, pick one. Pick one, memorize it. Now remember which one you memorized. And then when you have to have it on a test, write it out. And then you know the other one is the opposite. Okay, now what I want you to do is make sure that you go to the second video so we can fill in the chart. If you have any questions on this particular video, please make sure you ask your teacher.